Good morning. Oh, the title today is Are You Supporting Tyranny and Human Slavery? There was a time not that long ago when tyranny was more subtle. It was not as much in our faces as it is today. Yes, we are more aware now, at least some of us. In today's video, I'd like to mention some of the occupations that support tyranny and human slavery. Some are obvious, like jobs in the military-industrial complex, the military itself, law enforcement, the financial industry, government, and the court system. Others are less obvious, like the media, education, medicine, energy, and even religion. As I ponder the seriousness of the situation, I realize that the tentacles of tyranny literally touch almost every aspect of our lives. It all stems from the idea that the rules come from those with authority, those with the right to tell others what to do and force them if they don't. Compliance is manipulated by deception. The most important defense against tyranny is understanding the truth that each of us is an individual sovereign, granted natural rights that are self-evident by our Creator, and that each of us has a responsibility to stand in that truth. I said that at the opening sentence there that tyranny used to be more subtle. The truth of the matter is we were simply more ignorant. And we didn't know who we were. Through most of human history, humans have not understood who they were. So they either played the role or the role of slave or the role of master. They either told other people what to do by pretending that we, the priests, we, the rulers, we, the enforcers, we know what's right and we know what you're supposed to do, and others, because they didn't know who they were, acquiesced. And so the entire system of slavery was built on ignorance, which means it's really, really appropriate that we win this war on ignorance. We win this battle of not knowing that is being enforced on us, because there's certain people that want to keep us in the ignorant state, in the ignorant stage of our evolutionary development, of our conscious awareness development. They want to keep us there because they enjoy the perks and privileges of being the boss, being able to tell other people what to do and having other people consent and abide by the decision, even if not willingly. Well, we'll show you who's boss. And we live in a culture like that, and it is tyranny. It is a slave culture because it comes from a slave mentality or a master mentality. They are two sides of the same coin, and it is an artificial polarity. When you want to end duality, there's a duality that you can end forever. The idea that there has to be master and slave. There does have to be, in duality, masculine and feminine. There does have to be light and darkness. There does have to be positively charged and negatively charged energies, particles, whatever. Those things are necessary for life. But the idea that some people are born to rule while others are born to follow rules is an outdated paradigm, an outdated mentality that we must overcome. As I sat down and thought, how do people's jobs play into this thing that we're seeing happening on this planet, where the governments are wanting more and more power, and there's people behind the governments that are feeding that power and maintaining control by tricking people, by lying to people, by entrapping people. I mean, it goes on every day of our lives. We get entrapped, we get entwined in things that we do not connect the dots, and we do not understand the ripple effects that that has. And as I realized the insidiousness of the system, of the matrix, and I realized how interconnected even in the matrix everything is. You may think it's separate because you haven't connected the dots, but it's all, everything connects to everything else. The education and the religion, the religious training, these create thought forms that create compliance and the idea of subservience, or the idea of being the boss. It's ingrained right into the very structure, promoted by the media through advertising. And I mean, there's nothing that's not touched by this, folks. This is so big. The elephant in the room is so huge that most don't see it. You know, what's her name? Cindy K. Courier yesterday made a video that I watched about Nathan Rockefeller, Rothschild, naked. And she took the story of the emperor has no clothes. It was very well done, Cindy. I really appreciated it. But we've been sold a bill of goods that leaves us naked, that leaves us exposed, that leaves us vulnerable. But it's because we are so vain. There's a song, "You're So Vain." I bet you think this message, this video that I'm making is about you. Well, you're not so vain, because it is about you. And it's about me, and it's about all of us. Because we're all victims of being sold a bill of goods. Doesn't matter which side of the tyranny we're on, whether we're the master or the slave. It's a tyranny. It's a tyranny of ignorance. It's a tyranny of not knowing who we are. It's obvious to me how the legal system promoted by the Catholic Church, the canon law system, which, if you've been listening to previous things that I've done in the last week, you realize that the whole system starts with the premise that we're ignorant. And not only ignorant, but dead. Actually, I should have put something in between the ignorant and the dead. We are slaves. We are slaves. Okay? We are ignorant, and because we're ignorant, we're slaves of the ignorance. And because we're slaves, we are as good as dead. We haven't really become enlivened yet and awakened to not only our potential, but even the essence of who we are. Children of the Creator. Creations of God, in other words, or of prime force or source, or whatever word you want to use. It doesn't matter, the words. Words have been used to enslave us as much as anything else in our culture, because they have duplicitous meanings oftentimes, especially in our political and legal systems, but in our religious systems too. Nothing is what we've been told. Everything is based on fabrication, on lies, because we're making it up. We're going along this thing with amnesia. We come in here with amnesia. We forget who we are. We forget what our purpose is. And we have to discover everything fresh and new each time, with very little remnants of memory that sometimes leak in with some people from previous lifetimes, or just awarenesses that don't seem to be taught to us. They just seem to be there, like I've always known that I was here for a purpose, and that purpose was to manifest or help manifest the kingdom of heaven on earth. Whatever that meant to me at different stages of my development, I've known that since I was a kid. I've always known that somehow I was connected to something bigger than myself. I never didn't know that. I knew that from the littlest memories that I have, that I was here for a reason. I mean, I doubt I was more than 6 or 7 years old when I began to realize that. Just the beginning of self-consciousness, of knowing that I was separate. I see that in my grandson. He's so adamant in protecting his way. I mean, he's 6 years old, and already he knows what he wants and knows what he doesn't want, and he knows that he's like a little tyrant. I mean, the ego is being formed, and it's the formation of a little tyrant. Now, not everybody has that same path of development, but that's what I notice in him. Now, my middle granddaughter, the middle grandchild, she's much more compliant, much more deep and introspective. And the oldest one, of course, is another one that wants her own way. Now, she doesn't behave the way the 6-year-old behaves. She's learned different ways to behave. But I realize how much all of this is interconnected to the tyranny of our human experience. The tyranny of coming into a world where we're sort of stripped of the things that we need, the tools that we need to lift us out of the tyranny and to liberate us and to set our spirits and our souls free, not by dying, but by living, by loving, by learning the truth, and by helping others learn the truth. There are so many jobs, so many occupations, so many things that we do in the matrix system that absolutely support the worst values, the worst activities, the worst behaviors, because it all stems from the bad attitude. But the bad attitude comes from maybe being angry that we're ignorant, frustrated that things don't work the way that we'd like them to, in a more perfect world, in a more perfect sense. And so we rail against the system, or we comply with the system. Most of us comply, which is what makes the tyranny go on generation after generation after generation. Here in 2015, we have a unique situation. In all of our lives, I don't think we've had the situation where there is so much truth out there as to who we are, what we are, and how we can change our lives. Of course, most people still don't get it. They're still trapped by the media, trapped by the education system, dumbed down by the medicines that we put, the poisons that we put in our medicines and in our food and in our air and in our water. An energy system that is total fraud, based on the idea of a limited supply of commodities. A financial system that uses false contracts of deception, which of course fraud invalidates any contract. That's just a natural common sense thing. If there's fraud involved, how can it be a contract? And yet most of the things that we see as contracts in the world are contracts that are forced on us by someone claiming authority. The corporations do that, but why wouldn't they do that? The people that run the corporations are just as ignorant, and they like the idea of being the ruler, of being the boss, the top dog, the alpha male. They like that, even if they're a woman. They like the idea of being able to tell other people what to do and being the one that can dictate the rules, and they can get other people that don't know what they are to enforce them, whether it's military or police or whatever. And people like being able to beat other people up and to force people into submission. This is an attitude that needs to be adjusted. Actually, it needs to be completely transformed. So look at your life. That's what I'm asking you to do, to look at your life. How are you supporting the old paradigm of slavery, the old paradigm of tyranny, the old paradigm of corruption based on lies, based on things that we're beginning to realize simply are not true? Ponder these things. Think about them. Take them to heart. And don't be afraid to stand in your truth, even if it looks like it's totally different than what the Matrix wants, the ideas that the Matrix wants to put forth. Stand in the truth, even if people are going to look at you like you're nuts or something. Tell the truth. Stand there. Be there. The emperor has no clothes. The rulers, those that rule by domination, the rulers have no clothes. They're naked. And so are each of us. We came into the world naked, we go out naked. But we don't have to. We can be clothed in the truth that we are each sovereigns, created with natural rights that are obvious to us, self-evident, that we need to love one another, that we need to do unto others as we would have others do unto us. Thank you for listening. May you have a beautiful day. Namaste.